The meeting room was quiet, but the silence carried weight. Dozens of alien generals sat at long tables, their scaled fingers tapping on strange metallic tablets. Their eyes, wide and unblinking, studied everything with suspicion. Some had skin like stone, others had soft green tones that shimmered under the cold white lights. They came from different worlds, but they all carried the same question. Who truly ruled the humans of Earth? At the center of the room stood a single woman. She was young, barely past 30, her dark hair cut short, and her uniform shining black like liquid metal. Her posture was calm, but her presence carried authority that even the aliens could sense. She looked like no general, no king, no emperor. And yet she stood alone before them, unshaken. The war that brought them here had not been expected. For centuries, the galaxy had ignored Earth, dismissing it as a primitive world. But then humans had done what no one else thought possible. They fought back against fleets many times larger. They did not fight with perfect ships or endless armies. They fought with courage, with creativity, with a stubborn fire that refused to die. Again and again, alien armies found themselves outmaneuvered, ambushed, or forced into retreat. The generals who now sat in this chamber had each tasted that sting of humiliation. They wanted answers. They wanted control. They wanted to know who gave the orders that made humans so dangerous. The woman's smile was soft, but it carried something sharp behind it. She let the silence grow longer, until even the most disciplined alien commanders shifted in their seats. Then, with a calm voice, she began to speak. "You ask who rules Earth," she said. "But perhaps you should ask why Earth has no need for a single ruler." Some of the aliens hissed softly, their voices like steam escaping from broken engines. A general with armor fused to his skin leaned forward. His four eyes narrowed, his claws pressing against the table. "Do not play games." "Human," he growled. "Every world has a master. Every army has a commander. We want the name of the one who commands your kind." The woman only shook her head. Her smile grew a little wider, but her eyes carried the weight of her words. "You think in chains," she said. "One mind, one master." One order followed without question. "That is why you cannot understand us. Humanity does not wait for orders to fight. Humanity does not bow to one voice. We are millions of voices, millions of choices, and every one of them is willing to resist you." The room stirred. Some of the generals exchanged uneasy glances. This was not the answer they wanted. It was not the answer they understood. Armies in the galaxy were built on strict control, on obedience, on hierarchy. Without it, they believed, there could be no victory, and yet these humans had defeated them. Time and again, another general spoke, his skin shimmering like molten copper. "Without one commander, you should be weak, disorganized, divided, and yet you win battles against fleets larger than your entire planet's population." "How?" The woman stepped forward, closer to the first row of aliens. Her boots echoed against the metal floor, and her hand rested calmly over her chest. "Because we are not afraid to lose," she said. "Every soldier, every farmer, every child on Earth knows what it means to stand together. You burn one city, and another will rise. You destroy one fleet, and 1,000 engineers will build 2 more. We do not need one master to tell us to fight for what is ours. That is who rules Earth, the will of its people." The words hung in the air like a storm cloud ready to break. The aliens shifted again, and for the first time, some looked away. They had faced countless enemies in their long histories, but never one like this. Her smile softened again. She placed a single finger over her heart, then pointed to them all. "You came expecting a name. You expected a throne, a crown, an emperor's title. But the truth is simple. Earth is ruled by something you cannot chain, you cannot kill, you cannot silence." The copper-skinned general tilted his head, his voice low but tense. "And what is that?" The woman leaned closer, her eyes bright and unflinching. Her voice, calm yet powerful, filled the entire chamber. "Hope," she said. The room fell silent again. But this time, it was different. The generals did not shift in their seats. They did not growl or hiss. They only stared at her, and for the first time in their long military lives, they felt something cold at the back of their minds. Fear. The generals remained silent, their alien eyes fixed on the human woman. Some looked angry, others confused, and a few afraid. None of them had expected such an answer. They had come to hear the name of Earth's supreme leader, a single person they could intimidate or remove. Instead, they were given something far more dangerous, a truth that could not be destroyed with one blade or one bullet. The copper-skinned general broke the silence again. His claws scraped against the table, leaving marks in the polished surface. "Hope is not a weapon," he said sharply. "Ships and soldiers win wars, not words." The woman didn't flinch. She stepped closer to the screen behind her, where maps of battles and fleets glowed in soft light. Her hand moved over the display, and the image changed to show Earth's history. Armies, revolutions, cities rebuilt after fire. People standing together in times of darkness. "You misunderstand," she said. "Hope is not just words. Hope is what keeps a mother alive when bombs fall. Hope is what makes a farmer plant seeds in broken soil. Hope is what makes a soldier rise even when the ground is filled with blood. Hope builds ships faster than fear destroys them. And it moves faster than any of your fleets." Her voice was steady, but each word struck like a hammer. The alien generals leaned back, their expressions shifting. They could see the truth in her eyes, but not all were convinced. A general with bone-like ridges across his head let out a low laugh. "Your kind is fragile. Your cities burn with little effort. Your armies are small. You speak as if your people are unbreakable, but everything breaks." The woman turned to him slowly. She did not raise her voice. She did not argue. Instead, she pressed the screen again. Images shifted ruins of cities on Earth. Yes, but also their rebirth. Fires in one age, skyscrapers in the next. Fallen towers, then new ones taller and stronger. Wars long past but nations rebuilt. "Everything breaks," she admitted. "But we rebuild. That is what you do not understand. You conquer worlds and rule them until they rot. We fall and rise stronger. You cannot win against people who refuse to stay broken." The words sent a ripple through the room. The aliens were proud warriors, but deep inside, they knew she was right. Their empires lasted only as long as fear held others in place. Humans were different. They did not simply fear. They endured. The copper-skinned general slammed his hand on the table. "Enough riddles. If no single ruler controls you, then how? Are your armies coordinated? Who gives the order to attack? Someone must command." The woman's smile returned. It was not arrogant, but calm, like someone who already knew the outcome of a battle. "We do not wait for one voice," she said. "When danger comes, we rise together. Leaders guide, yes, but leaders fall. And when they fall, others take their place. You can kill a commander, you can silence a government, but you cannot silence humanity. Every person carries the will to fight for home, for family, for tomorrow. That is why you failed to defeat us." The generals exchanged glances again, their eyes flickering with unease. They were creatures of strict control. To them, the idea of millions acting with one shared spirit, without chains, was madness. But it was also terrifying. The woman walked closer until she was only a few steps from the first row. Her boots echoed with each step, steady and firm. She lowered her voice, making the room lean in to hear. "You look for a throne to attack. You search for a crown to crush. But you will find nothing, because Earth has no throne. We have no crown. We have only each other." A silence heavier than before fell across the chamber. The aliens shifted uncomfortably. Some clenched their fists. Others avoided her gaze. For the first time, they were beginning to see the truth. They could conquer worlds. They could enslave nations. But against humanity, they faced something they could not fully understand. Then, one of the younger generals, his skin pale blue, and his voice soft, spoke carefully. If all of humanity rises together, then who speaks for them now? Who are you to stand here before us? The woman looked around the room. Dozens of alien eyes stared back at her, searching for weakness, for fear, for hesitation. They found none. She touched her chest lightly, then lowered her hand to her side. I am no queen. I am no empress. I am only one human. She let the words hang for a moment, and that is enough. Because wherever I fall, 1,000 more will rise. That is Earth's answer. The room grew colder. None of the generals replied. None could. For the first time in their long, proud histories, they realized they might not be the hunters. They might be the prey. The chamber's silence was sharp, like a blade waiting to strike. The alien generals shifted in their seats, their armored shoulders tense, their eyes unblinking. The woman stood alone at the center, but she did not waver. She had given them an answer they could not accept, yet could not deny. At last, the bone-ridged general let out a deep growl. You speak as though humanity cannot be broken. You speak as if your people are gods. His voice echoed like thunder. But flesh is flesh. Metal burns. Worlds crumble. You may endure, but everything has a limit. The woman tilted her head slightly. Her eyes glimmered in the cold light. She did not raise her voice, but her calm words cut through the chamber. And yet, we are still here. She touched the screen again, and new images appeared. Battles in space, human ships torn apart by enemy fire. Cities burning, people fleeing into the night. Soldiers lying still on ruined ground. She let the aliens see it all, the pain, the destruction, the losses. But then the images changed. Survivors pulling each other from rubble. Engineers repairing. Broken machines with their bare hands. Soldiers standing again, weapons raised, even when their numbers were few. Children laughing in rebuilt streets. You have broken us 1,000 times, she said. But each time we rise again. That is what makes us strong. Not because we cannot fall, but because we refuse to stay down. The copper-skinned general hissed, his eyes narrowing. Do not mistake stubbornness for strength. The woman smiled. Faint but sure. Stubbornness is strength. The galaxy fears weapons and fleets, but you should fear something else. The day you destroy one of us, 10 more rise in anger. The day you burn a city, a nation unites. You cannot fight the fire that spreads inside us. You cannot cage what refuses to die. For a moment, no one spoke. Then the pale blue general, the youngest among them, leaned forward. His voice was quiet but curious. If your people are not ruled by one, then what do they fight for? If not a crown, then what? What drives them into fire and death without orders? The woman's gaze softened. She looked not at the generals, but at the glowing images on the screen, the faces of ordinary humans. Farmers, workers, children, soldiers. All different, but all carrying the same fire in their eyes. They fight for each other, she answered. For the chance that tomorrow will be better than today. For family, for freedom, for dreams. We may argue, we may struggle among ourselves, but when the threat comes from outside, when someone dares to take our home, every difference disappears. We fight as one. A murmur spread among the generals. They understood armies that fought for gold. They understood soldiers who fought for fear of punishment. But soldiers who fought for each other, who fought for tomorrow, that was a force they had no chains for. The bone-ridged general slammed his clawed fist on the table. Romantic words, but the galaxy is ruled by strength. When your fleets are gone, when your cities are ash, no dream will save you. The woman turned her head, her eyes locking with his. She stepped closer, and the sound of her boots was the only sound in the chamber. You are wrong, she said firmly. Dreams are stronger than steel. You can burn steel. You can shatter stone, but a dream? She raised a finger, pointing at the images of humanity rebuilding, rising, fighting. A dream spreads. It infects hearts. Even in your armies, there are those who wonder if there is another way. You fear us not because of our ships or our weapons. You fear us because our hope will spread, and when it does, your empires will fall from within. The words hit harder than any weapon. Some of the generals shifted, uneasy. A few glanced at one another, as though the thought had already crossed their minds before this day. The copper-skinned general snarled, his voice trembling with anger. Enough! Do you think you can frighten us with philosophy? Do you think hope can stop plasma fire? Do you think words can tear down empires? The woman didn't flinch. Her voice stayed calm, even soft. No, she said. But people can, and we are people who never stop. She let the words linger, her gaze sweeping across the room. One by one, the generals looked away. Not out of shame, but because they could not meet the unshaken fire in her eyes. For the first time, they began to understand what they were facing. Humanity was not just another species to conquer. It was something far more dangerous. Something that could not be ruled by fear. And somewhere, deep in their hardened hearts, the generals felt something they did not want to admit. They felt doubt. Asterisk. The chamber lights dimmed slightly as the screen behind the woman shifted again. This time it showed not only humans, but also alien ships shattered by battles they thought they had already won, fleets broken by smaller forces, armies stalled by unexpected human resistance. The generals leaned forward, their faces darkening. They hated those memories. They remembered the battles where victory was supposed to be certain, yet somehow slipped away. The woman's voice was calm but sharp. You call us fragile, you call us weak. And yet here you sit, forced to ask how we resist you. You have weapons older than our civilizations. You have armies larger than our populations. But it is you who are afraid. The copper-skinned general hissed, his claws scraping the table. Afraid? We are conquerors. We rule dozens of systems. Fear does not guide us. The woman's smile returned, small but steady. Then why are you here? Why do the greatest generals of the galaxy sit in this room, demanding to know who commands Earth? If you were not afraid, you would not care. But you do. You fear what you cannot control. Her words fell heavy into the silence. Some generals shifted, uncomfortable, but none argued. The pale blue general spoke again, his voice soft but curious. If what you say is true, if humanity cannot be ruled as we rule other worlds, then why come here at all? Why face us alone? The woman looked at him, and for the first time, her smile softened into something warmer. Because you need to hear it, she said. You need to understand that you are not fighting an empire. You are fighting a people. And no matter what you burn, no matter what you take, that people will remain. The bone-ridged general let out a low growl. You talk as though your kind is eternal, but humans die like all others. We will grind you down until nothing is left. The woman turned to him, her gaze steady. She pressed the screen again, and new images filled the air. Ancient battles from Earth's own history. Empires that rose and fell. Nations crushed and rebuilt. Flags torn down, only for new ones to rise. Yes, she said softly. We die. But ideas do not. Hope does not. A mother tells her child stories of survival, and that child grows strong. A soldier falls, and another picks up his weapon. Kill one of us, and you only inspire the rest. Her eyes swept the room. That is Why you will never win. The chamber grew tense. A low murmur of alien voices filled the air, some angry, some uncertain. For the first time, cracks were showing among the generals themselves. One general with scaled green skin leaned forward, his voice quieter but more thoughtful. What if you are right? What if humanity cannot be broken by force? Then what do you want, human? Do you seek peace, or do you seek to fight until one side is ash? The woman studied him carefully. Peace is always our first choice, but freedom is not negotiable. You came to us with chains, expecting us to bow. That was your mistake. We do not kneel. The words hit like thunder. Some generals shifted in anger, others in unease. But none could deny her tone. It was not arrogance, but truth spoken with certainty. The copper-skinned general slammed his clawed hand down again, sparks flying from the table. You cannot win forever. Hope cannot shield you when the galaxy unites against you. The woman's eyes met his, unwavering. Then we will show the galaxy what it means to fight for more than conquest. You fight for power. We fight for tomorrow. Who do you think will endure longer? The chamber fell silent once again. The alien generals sat frozen, each trapped in their own thoughts. Finally, the pale blue general broke the silence. His eyes, softer than the rest, studied her carefully. You say Earth has no ruler. You say humanity fights as one. Then I must ask, what if the galaxy sees the truth in your words? What if hope spreads beyond your people? The woman's smile deepened, and for the first time, there was a spark of something almost playful in her eyes. Then, she said quietly, you will no longer fear us alone. You will fear yourselves. The chamber shook with a sudden silence. Deeper than before, the generals did not move, did not speak. They had come to learn who ruled Earth. Instead, they had been shown something far greater. They had been shown a truth that could not be unlearned. And in that moment, even the fiercest among them felt the weight of a future they could not control. The silence in the chamber stretched longer than before. Every general sat motionless, trapped between anger and doubt. The woman's words had dug deep, and though many wanted to dismiss them, none could. She had not spoken as a ruler or a conqueror, but as something stronger, an unshakable truth. The bone-ridged general finally broke the stillness. His voice rumbled low, heavy with frustration. You think yourselves eternal because you cling to dreams. But dreams will not save you when our fleets return. We will bury your world beneath fire until even your oceans boil. The woman turned to him. She did not raise her voice, but her calm made her words sharper than steel. And when you burn, Earth, what then? Do you think our fire dies with the soil beneath our feet? You forget what we are. She pressed the screen again. Images of Earth's colonies appeared, outposts on the moon, Mars, scattered stations across the void. Humans, building where there had once been only silence. We are not bound to one world anymore, she continued. Earth is our heart, yes, but we carry Earth wherever we go. Burn one planet, and our children will grow on another. Destroy a fleet, and new hands will build more. You cannot kill us by fire. You cannot erase us with war. We are the storm that always returns. The copper-skinned general hissed in frustration. Arrogant, you believe you can outlast the galaxy itself? Her gaze did not waver. No, she said simply. I believe we can outlast your fear. The generals fell quiet again, shifting uncomfortably. Her words unsettled them more than threats ever could. They were used to enemies who shouted promises of revenge. They were not used to enemies who spoke with such certainty, as though victory was already decided, not by weapons, but by will. The pale blue general, still watching her carefully, leaned forward. You say hope spreads. You say it is stronger than our chains. But why do you stand here alone? If your people are many, why are you the one before us now? The woman's smile softened, but her voice carried no weakness. Because I am a reminder. Not a ruler, not a master. Just a human. If I fall here, another will come. If they fall, another after them. You wanted one voice to silence, one name to strike. But we are countless. That is the truth you must learn. The scaled green general, who had remained quiet for long moments, now leaned forward. His voice was low, almost thoughtful. Perhaps you are right. Perhaps humanity cannot be broken as we thought. But hope is dangerous. Hope spreads. If your fire touches our own people, then order itself may crumble. At his words, unease rippled through the room. For the first time, several generals glanced nervously at each other. They all knew it was true. Conquered worlds obeyed them out of fear. But what if they saw a different way? What if they believed in what this human said? The bone-ridged general snarled. Lies, manipulation. No world would rise for you. The woman raised her chin slightly, her eyes locked on his. Then why do your soldiers whisper when they face? U.S. Why do prisoners of war look at us with respect, even after battle? You sense it, though you deny it. The more you fight us, the more others begin to wonder if there is another path. Her words fell like sparks into dry grass. The chamber's silence was no longer calm. It was heavy, charged, as though waiting for something to ignite. The copper-skinned general slammed his claw again, but this time the sound was weaker. His anger felt less certain, his fury forced. You speak of fire and dreams, but when the galaxy unites, you will fall. You cannot fight us all. The woman stepped closer, until her shadow stretched across the table toward them. Her voice was quiet, but every ear in the chamber strained to hear it. Then we will teach the galaxy that chains are weaker than freedom. We will fight, not because one voice commands it, but because all voices demand it. And when your empires see that truth, they will not follow you anymore. They will follow hope. The generals froze. Some clenched their fists, others looked away. For the first time, the thought became real. Not only could humans resist, but their spirit might spread across stars. The pale blue general spoke once more, softer than ever. If what you say is true, then we have already lost. The woman's smile deepened, though her eyes carried no cruelty. Not yet, she said. You still have a choice. You can fight us until your empires crumble. Or you can stand beside us and learn what it means to build a future that lasts. Her words left the chamber in silence again. But this time, it was not the silence of anger, nor of confusion. It was the silence of generals forced to face the truth, that their war was not only against humans, but against something far greater. Against the very idea of freedom. The chamber felt heavier than before, as though the walls themselves carried the weight of the words spoken. The alien generals, once so certain of their power, now sat in silence. Their claws no longer scraped tables. Their growls had faded. Only their eyes remained fixed on the human woman who had dared to stand before them. She stood calm, her arms at her sides, her presence steady. She did not look like a conqueror. She did not wear a crown or sit on a throne. She was simply one person. Yet she filled the chamber as though she carried the voice of millions behind her. The bone-ridged general's deep voice finally broke the silence, but it no longer carried thunder. It was slower, heavier. If your people are as you say, then war with you will never end. The woman's gaze did not waver. Not if you choose war, she replied. You think strength is in how many ships you control, how many armies you command. But strength is measured in how many rise again after they fall. We rise endlessly. You cannot chain that. The copper-skinned general bared his teeth, but there was no fire in his hiss now, only frustration. You leave us no path. To fight you is to bleed without end. To let you live is to risk rebellion across our empires. You force us to choose between ruin and fear. The woman's voice softened, but the calm carried even more weight. No, I offer you a third path. Not ruin, not fear, choice. Stand beside us. Learn what it means to build instead of conquer, to guide instead of chain. You fear hope, but hope can be shared. It does not weaken, it grows. Her words fell into them like seeds into soil. Some generals looked away, as though afraid to let such thoughts take root. Others stared, torn between pride and temptation. The pale blue general, youngest of them all, leaned forward. His eyes were sharp but uncertain. And if we refuse? If we strike Earth again, harder, with everything we have? The woman stepped closer, her shadow stretching across the polished floor. She looked at him with eyes that carried no hate, only certainty. Then we will fight, and we will bleed, and we will fall. But we will rise again, stronger than before. Until your armies are dust and your fleets are only whispers in history. Because we do not fight to rule, we fight to live. And nothing in this galaxy can erase that. Her words struck like lightning. The chamber trembled with silence. The generals felt it, not only as a threat, but as a promise. For long moments, none moved. Then the scaled green general, who had listened more than he had spoken, rose slowly from his seat. His voice was deep, thoughtful, almost weary. Perhaps the galaxy has underestimated your kind. Perhaps we have mistaken weakness for strength. If what you say is true, then to fight you is to fight forever. He turned to the others. And forever is a war none of us can win. The bone ridged. General snarled, but his claws no longer struck the table. The copper-skinned general hissed, but his voice cracked. Even they could not fully deny the truth hanging in the air. The pale blue general spoke once more, almost in a whisper. So this is your answer. This is who rules Earth. The woman straightened her back. She let the silence grow heavy again until every alien in the chamber leaned forward without realizing it. Then she spoke, her words clear, calm, final. Earth is ruled by no throne, no master, no single name. Earth is ruled by its people, by their hope, by their fire, by their will to rise again. That is our answer. Her smile returned, small but unshakable. And that is why you will never defeat us. The chamber froze. No growls, no hisses, no threats. Only silence, and the weight of fear the generals carried now. Fear not of fleets or weapons, but of a truth they could never undo. One by one, the generals lowered their eyes. Not in submission, but in recognition. They had come seeking the ruler of Earth. Instead, they had found something far greater, a people who refused to bow. And as the woman turned and walked toward the doors, her boots echoing against the floor, the alien generals sat unmoving, each caught in the same thought. Perhaps the galaxy had just changed forever.